What do you think about Bill O'Brien?
I was pretty shell shocked. I mean, I did not see that coming because typically when you give the guys the keys to the castle, you don't kick them out of the castle the next 6 months later. I I think it's borderline insane given how much power they gave him.
Yeah.
And I we've talked about this a lot. Twitter, social media, I think he's one of their clear targets of not like making fun of a Freddie Kitchens or a Jim Tom Sula that is just low hanging fruit, but a guy that is have success and everyone talked about like he was the village idiot. He won the division 4 times in 5 years. The last 2 years, he won 21 games, 10 and 11, or I guess it was 11 and 18, 10 last year. Like that's the Oakland Raiders or the Vegas Raiders would give their left nut for that. The Jaguars, some of these teams, Tampa, Falcons. I mean, just go the Jets, the Giants. Do you know what they do for back-to-back years right now? 10 and 11. And he's a solid coach. I saw him at Penn State. I went to a practice when I worked for the Eagles. I remember thinking, this guy's fucking good. The Eagles, before they hired Chip Kelly, they offered Bill O'Brien the job. People forget Bill O'Brien was like Matt Rule before Matt Rule. Like he was the number one guy. Everyone wanted him. And then he had success. Like really his downfall clearly is just this contentious nature, I guess, with executives and personnel, which he's terrible at. But this stretch is bad. Now they started Chiefs, Ravens, Steelers. The Vikings loss, you could argue, is bad. But that's if the Niners had started Chiefs, Ravens, Steelers. I mean, are they 1-2? Like not like they'd be 3-0. I mean, they would have lost too. Just given their injuries and shit. I don't know, man. I think social media has portrayed him being this village idiot. I don't think he's I think he's a good coach. I think he's a solid. I think he's a hireable coach. Now, GM and that stuff is legit.
Almost drew
bad
GM. And we all talk about the Hopkins. The 2 1s and a 2 for Laramie might be worse.
Well, it's bad when you suck, but they needed a left tackle. Yeah.
Here's the other thing. You know how many – so he won 8 games year 1 at Penn State, 7 games year 2. It took James Franklin 3 years to win 8 games because he took over for Bill, and he went 7-6 and 7-6 after Bill went 8-4 and 7-5. The question is
how impressive it was for the Jerry Sandusky thing to take over. Was that the worst job of our lifetime?
It felt like it. Now, he did keep the quarterback at the time. We thought, oh, it's big. They got what was his name? Christian Hackenberg? Like Hackenberg. Wasn't it Hackenberg?
Well, no, McGloin was there. Then he recruited Hackenberg.
Yeah. To me, the question is this guy going to have to take a college job or will he take an NFL job with will an established GM want to hire him? Because clearly he's a good enough football coach. But if you're an established GM, are you going to be scared off by Bill? You might be. Thinking Bill wants all the power.
I'm not saying like
no, I know. I'm just saying, is he going to be an NFL head coach next or is he going to be a college head coach next?
But you would agree that just based on his coaching resume, there is nothing that says that this guy doesn't deserve another shot, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Based on his coaching resume. But his resume includes a power struggle with the GM.
And crazy trades.
And crazy trades once he got control.
Crazy fucking trades. Now, one thing will be interesting. It's fresh and early. Over the next month or two, do stories come out about players? Remember Chip Kelly? It kind of derailed his career. Started getting called a racist. People hated him. Had a Mark Jackson feel like everyone in the building hated him. It'll just be interesting to monitor that because if it gets really egregious, my tune might change a little bit. Because at the end of the day, being a coach is about more than you got to be a person. Like, did you treat people well? And I don't know. I've heard some stories of just coaches that thought he was just they quit. I know a coach right now that works for another team that just in the middle of his contract was like, "Can I be let out? I can't work here anymore." So it's like
that's Saban-esque.
I think there's some horror.
Saban wins. No, I'm not comparing. I'm saying, but
wins.
You go to Saban because it's good for your career, and then you try to leave in a year or two, right?
But every single person that you and I have met, that when you talk about Nick Saban, they say it's one of the most miserable experiences of their life. But it works. So it's like he's just copying them, guy. He's kind of just copying Belichick. I mean, he's a Belichick guy.
Right.
Like, that's kind of what he's doing, but it kind of worked on the field, right? That's what's weird about Bill. He copied Belichick.
Look, he's good enough to be a head coach. If I'm a GM of a team or an owner, I probably wouldn't make him my head coach.
I would interview him, though.